love. I learned how vulnerable they make themselves. They just trust directors to put them through just about any ridiculous thing. But it was an excellent way to start the day. They literally shut their eyes and made them think of this movie title. And I would say a few words, like a medium. I just didn't happen to have a turban with jewels in it on, and or a crystal ball or anything like that. And then once they were in their trances, they would get up with their eyes shut and just do the principal plot points of the movie, but in their own, each in his or her own sphere. So even if there was a love scene, say between Mathieu Amorik and Ariane Mabed, they made love to each other, but without acknowledging each other. You'd see them sculpting the air with their hands, sculpting out each other's body, but just in the air with their eyes shut, and sometimes back to back, or sometimes 10 feet away from each other. You'd see a stabbing gesture here and there. You'd see Udo Kier writing a prescription or something like that, and Charlotte Rampling would be dying, but by herself, and then slowly they would rise to their feet and start interacting with each other a little bit. Their eyes would open, and we'd just click some more lights on and turn off the fans. And this was being shot in public in the Centre Pompidou, so there were sometimes a couple hundred people watching, and so there was a little bit of showmanship in it, and it was a great way for the actors to warm up into the parts. They'd already done a number of dry runs, and then while they were still just miming by themselves, and then tentatively with each other, and then just sketching out the basic plot lines, it was almost like running rehearsals. And then we just kept them moving, and we just tried to keep the actors moving all day, and the lights moving, and the cameras moving around them. There was always 2 cameras at least filming them, and then by the end of the day, after they'd repeated the film a number of times, which is usually some 10 or 15 or maybe even 20-minute long film, a number of times, we had enough footage to edit. So it was a really strange way to do it, but it really loosened people up. And I didn't, I thought that actors would be unwilling to go act in a museum as an installation, because I know some actors don't even like to go on the stage, but this was like acting in a shopping mall almost. They were just regular folk off the street just watching, and a lot of talking going on. There was none of the respectful silence that's going on in here now. There were people just clamoring, and so there was a background noise that sounded like when you hold a big conch shell to your ear, and you can hear the ocean. It just sort of sounded like that, and you can hear it whenever the dialogue is spoken. You can hear in the background this clamor of people. So this seance did just look like the kind of seances you see in movies, because that's the only kind of seance I really know. Just making them up. I probably only answered a fraction of the question.
So, are there some other questions?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi. First of all, thank you for being here and showing us this amazing film. I have a question about the humor of the film, this kind of absurdist humor that kind of runs throughout. I was kind of constantly paying attention to the audience reaction to all of these multiple humorous moments, which is
Stillborn jokes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, you finish.
Well, yeah, I was just noticing that with time, the audience just was not responding at all to the humorous moments. It was completely silent after about 20 minutes. And I guess I was just wondering how you, in the process of making the film, like what the role of humor was for you and what you hoped to do with that.
Now, don't make me criticize Germany again.
That did come to mind, of course. That's the question.
I swear, the Berlinale has literally been the scene of the 2 highlights of my filmmaking career, maybe of my life. I love the audiences. I just know, I kind of love the German audience temperament, because it's my temperament. I don't laugh out loud at anything. I'm just assuming some people found some things amusing, but I know there's something in, my movies have never had more than 2 or 3 people laughing at once anyway, and then at any given time. And sometimes, if I were to be honest, I realize that 2 of the 3 people laughing are actually just coughing, that sort of thing. Like, it's just never, I don't know, the kind of joke. I've always hidden. It's a bit cautious of me if I've tried to put something funny in a movie. I've always tried to contextualize it so if it wasn't as funny as I'd hoped, that it could just pass off as exposition or something like that. That it never, went hat in hand begging for a laugh. So I've never really gone for a big gag. The framing device of the movie is How to Take a Bath, is written by John Ashbery, the great American poet who's just been puzzling people for 6 decades now. And I'm sure, I've never talked to him about it, but I'm sure it is readings of his poems, which are hilarious. It's very rare for him, I'm sure, to get more than one person laughing at once, or even knowing why they're laughing, or if they'll ever laugh again, as a matter of fact. So I'm fine with that. It'd be great to get a distributor, but I'm fine with no one laughing. But thank you for your concern for my feelings.
In the process of making the film, what role of humor? Well, you did answer a large chunk of my question, but as you were making it, kind of was humor just a part of the logic of looking at this absurd process of kind of coming up with the narrative, of concocting this absurd narrative? I don't know. Sorry.
I don't know. It's hard to take yourself seriously, for very long. You're in the writing room, and you're the luckiest person in the world. You get to make films. The government is supporting you to make this thing, and you're going on about the message and things, and the human condition, and then you just go, oh, what an asshole I am, You almost have to just humiliate yourself in front of your collaborators, and so it's just at regular intervals in the writing. You just kind of almost have to sabotage yourself, and so I guess that's what's going on. And maybe it's more humiliating than funny, and I don't know. That would be part of that magic recipe. And I also don't want to flog you for questions. At a certain point, I have a deal with an audience. If they've been wrung dry, but I know what it's like to be in the audience. I'm always too shy to ask a question. So I'll be loitering outside after. If you're too shy, I'll bend over and pretend to be tying shoelaces on a pair of shoes that doesn't have laces. And you can sidle up to me and sort of speak near me and ask a question, and I will, pretending to be talking to myself, answer your questions. It's an easy way of transitioning out of the Q&A period without feeling like, as an audience, collectively humiliated by the fact that you're all too scared to ask that question. You can just ask me later. I should just give out my email address, actually. It's just my name, guy.matt@gmail.com. So that's my question already.
Just ask something personal. Did you dream something sometimes about your scenes of your movies?
Dreams were imported quite often. We started writing in the morning, and sometimes if I dreamt a real dilly, if something was particularly spot on about things in my life, but just rearranged in that way that dreams have a way of rearranging the truth so that you can actually see the truth better. And so every now and then something is important, but I can barely remember. I know I've always tried to trust my dreams. My very first film was inspired by recurring dreams I had, where my dead father had forgotten he had died, kept coming home, and I got a chance to get to know him over the years because I had these recurring dreams. And so I decided when I started to make films, I knew they'd be so primitive and artsy-fartsy that I'd be accused of being some sort of wanker. So I thought I better base it in something really honest. So I based my first film on those dreams that meant a lot to me. By the time I made my movie of My Winnipeg about 8 years ago, I was really stuck for an ending, and my daughter is so in touch with her own prehistory with my family, the people I loved that died before she was born, that she actually dreamt an ending for my movie, and she just gave it to me over the phone, and it was perfect. And so dreams are also welcome collaborators. I try not to, because dreams can be really, when someone goes, oh, I got to tell you about this dream I had last night, you always go, oh no, dreams like this movie don't have any obvious beginning, middle, or end, and so you have no idea how long you're going to have to be listening to this person. So I've been very reluctant to import too much dream content in, but every now and then, just the way